Packed gallery, cameras line the back wall, every seat filled with reporters, curiosity seekers, people who've come to watch a reckoning, 20 years in the making. Sits on the witness stand, designer suit her mother's vintage pearl necklace, composed, unflinching. But her knuckles are white gripping the armrest. Ms. Harrington, when did you first discover your stepmother had murdered your mother? Maya's eyes find Victoria Thorne at the defense table. 54 years old, black Chanel suit, even in custody, watching Maya with something between hatred and grudging respect. The day I opened my father's vault. And what did you find there? Steady clear, $44 million in push, 13 million in gold bars. And proof that everything I thought I knew about my family was a lie. Victoria's jaw tightens. Did you know your father was blackmailing 52 people when he died? Pause, then I knew everything, and I have proof. She pulls out a USB drive, holds it up. The courtroom erupts, smash cut to black. 6 months earlier, exterior Portland Federal Courthouse. Date December 2026. Rain hammers the granite steps like judgment falling from heaven. News vans choke the street, their satellite dishes reaching toward a sky the color of old bruises. Reporters huddle under black umbrellas waiting for blood. Inside, justice wears a different face than anyone expected. Interior, courtroom, continuous. The gallery is packed. 300 people crammed into seats meant for 200. Cameras line the back wall, red lights blinking like predator eyes in the dark. Every major network, every newspaper that still matters, they've all come to watch the same thing, a reckoning 20 years in the making. Maya Harrington sits on the witness stand, 28 years old, designer suit in charcoal gray tailored to perfection. Her mother's vintage pearl necklace catches the fluorescent light. She wears her dark hair pulled back severe, not a strand out of place. Composed, unflinching. But her knuckles are white where they grip the wooden armrest. Federal prosecutor James Wolfe stands before her. 56 years old, silver-haired, 3 decades of putting monsters behind bars etched into the lines around his eyes. He holds a manila folder like it contains the secrets of the universe. Maybe it does. Wolfe, Ms. Harrington, when did you first discover your stepmother had murdered your mother? The courtroom holds its breath. Maya's eyes find Victoria Thorne at the defense table. 54 years old, black Chanel suit, even in federal custody, blonde hair, perfect despite 6 months in jail. She watches Maya with something between hatred and grudging respect. The look of a chess player who's just realized she's been outmaneuvered. Maya, the day I opened my father's vault, her voice doesn't shake, doesn't waver, cold and clear as winter water. Wolfe, and what did you find in that vault, Miss Harrington? Maya, $44 million in pad, 13 million in gold bars. She pauses, lets the number sink into the room like stones dropping into still water. Maya continued, and proof that everything I thought I knew about my family was a lie. Victoria's jaw tightens. Just a fraction. Just enough. Wolfe, your father, William Harrington, was blackmailing 52 people when he died. Did you know that? Maya long pause, then I knew everything. And I have proof. She reaches into her jacket, pulls out a small USB drive, silver, unremarkable, holds it up for the courtroom to see. The gallery erupts, voices rising like a wave breaking against rocks. Reporters scrambling for their phones. The judge's gavel comes down like thunder. Maya doesn't flinch, doesn't blink, just holds that drive steady as a surgeon's hand. Victoria Thorne closes her eyes. Smash cut to black. Title card, 6 months earlier, exterior, Riverside Cemetery. Portland, Maine day. December rain falls in sheets, the kind that soaks through wool coats and expensive umbrellas, the kind that turns a cemetery into a watercolor painting where everything bleeds together. Maya Harrington stands alone beside an open grave. Black dress, black coat, her mother's pearls. She doesn't carry an umbrella. Let the rain come. Let it wash over her like baptism, or drowning, she doesn't care which. The casket is mahogany, polished to a mirror shine, brass handles gleaming even in the gray light. It sits suspended over the hole in the earth by straps and machinery, waiting for the mourners to leave so the workers can finish what grief started. William Harrington reads the brass nameplate, 1958 to 2026, beloved father, respected businessman. The words say nothing about who he really was. Maya is 28 years old and an orphan now, both parents gone, one to cancer 14 years ago, one to a heart that finally gave up carrying the weight of everything he'd built and everything he'd destroyed building it. The mourners cluster under a striped canopy 50 feet away. Corporate executives in $1,000 suits. Business partners who made fortunes writing William's vision. Society women who attended charity galas at the Harrington penthouse and never once asked what the man behind the checkbook actually believed in. They keep their distance from Maya, some out of respect, most out of fear. She's the daughter, the heir, the one who knows where all the bodies are buried, metaphorically speaking. Though standing here in a cemetery, the metaphor feels a little too on the nose. Victoria Thorne stands apart from the main group, close enough to appear united in grief, far enough to avoid actual contact. She's 54 but looks 40. Black suit, probably Chanel, definitely expensive. Blonde hair swept into a chignon that hasn't moved once despite the wind. She holds her phone low against her skirt thumb, moving across the screen in quick practice swipes, checking stock prices maybe, or texting her lawyer, or her lover. Hard to say with Victoria. The woman keeps her cards close. Maya watches her stepmother check the time, watches her bite back what looks very much like a smile. The pastor drones something about eternal rest and God's mysterious ways. Words that mean nothing because William Harrington was an atheist who built empires with his hands and trusted spreadsheets more than scripture. He wouldn't have wanted this ceremony, this performance. He would have wanted silence and maybe a good scotch in the sound of rain on a roof that actually belonged to him. But Victoria planned the funeral. Victoria invited the mourners. Victoria orchestrated this entire production because that's what Victoria does. She performs. Maya remembers July, just 5 months ago, but it feels like 5 years. The two of them on William's boat out on Casco Bay. Lines in the water, not catching anything, not caring. Her father had looked thin that day, his shirt hanging loose on shoulders that used to fill doorways. But his eyes had been clear when he turned to her. William, voiceover memory. Remember, little architect, what matters most never shines in store windows. Maya had laughed, thought he meant the lure glinting in the sun. Now she understands he meant everything else. The service ends. People file past murmuring condolences that sound rehearsed. Maya shakes hands she won't remember, accepts embraces from strangers who smell like expensive perfume and professional sympathy. Victoria receives her own line of mourners, dabbing at dry eyes with a handkerchief that stays pristine. The grieving widow, the devoted wife, playing her role to perfection. Ethan Thorne lingers near his mother, 24 years old and uncomfortable in a suit that costs more than most people's monthly rent. Victoria's son from whatever came before William. He catches Maya's eye once, starts to move toward her. Victoria's hand shoots out, grips his elbow with fingers that leave marks. She smiles at someone important, pulls Ethan back into her orbit. The crowd thins, the rain doesn't. Maya stands alone at the grave while workers wait at a respectful distance with shovels and machinery ready to finish what grief started. She reaches into her coat pocket, pulls out something small, a fishing lure, half finished, feathers still scattered across her father's desk at the penthouse untouched. Since the morning he died, she drops it into the grave. It hits the casket with a sound too small to matter. Interior law office, Prescott and Associates Day, the 7th floor of a building that smells like old money and furniture polish. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Casco Bay. A mahogany conference table that could seat 20, but today holds only 5. Maya arrives first, still wearing the black dress from the funeral. She hasn't thought to buy another one, hasn't thought about much of anything except the hollow space where her father used to be. Margaret Prescott is already there. 62 years old, steel gray hair cut in a bob that probably looked the same in 1985. She wears a navy suit and pearls in the expression of someone who's seen every variation of human greed and stopped being surprised decades ago. She's been the Harrington family attorney for 30 years, since before Maya was born. She looks at Maya now with something that might be pity or might be apology. Prescott, we'll begin when everyone arrives. Her voice carries the flat vowels of old Boston money, the kind of accent that's dying out, being replaced by something softer, less certain. Victoria sweeps in 20 minutes late, Ethan trailing behind her like a moon locked in orbit around a planet that doesn't want him there. She air kisses both of Maya's cheeks. Her perfume is French and cloying, thick enough to taste. Victoria, darling, you look exhausted. Are you eating? Maya says nothing. Victoria settles into the chair at the head of the table, like she was born to it, like she's already decided how this story ends. Margaret breaks the wax seal on an envelope containing William's last will and testament. The paper crackles in the silence. Heavy stock, expensive. The kind of paper that makes promises meant to last beyond death. Victoria leans forward, fingers drumming against the table's edge. A tell she probably doesn't know she has. Maya learned to read people watching her father across negotiating tables, watching him dismantle opponents with nothing but patience and observation. Ethan stares at his phone, not even pretending interest. Margaret clears her throat, begins to read. The bulk of the estate goes exactly where Maya knew it would go, where Victoria has spent 5 years positioning herself to receive it. The Harrington penthouse on Boston Harbor. $47 million worth of marble and glass in imported Italian tile. Views that make real estate agents weep with joy. The stock portfolio. $85 million in what the documents describe as carefully curated investments, blue-chip companies, tech startups, the kind of diversified wealth that generates its own gravity. The art collection. $14 million in paintings and sculptures and pieces Maya remembers from childhood. A Rothko in the dining room. A Warhol in the library. Beauty commodified and cataloged and insured for more than most people earn in a lifetime. Victoria's face remains composed, but her eyes glitter like cut glass catching light. Ethan receives the dealership chain, 6 luxury car lots across New England. They generate reliable income and require minimal oversight, which is good because Ethan has never demonstrated much talent for work that requires showing up. He also gets the vacation condo in Portland's Old Port, prime real estate, walking distance to restaurants that charge $40 for a hamburger. Then Margaret pauses. Her eyes find Maya across the table. Something unreadable passes across her face. Prescott. To my daughter, Maya Rose Harrington. I leave the property located at 2247 Ironwood Lane in the township of Portland, Maine, including all structures, land, and contents therein. Victoria's laugh cuts through the room like breaking crystal. Victoria Ironwood, that old death trap. Her voice climbs half an octave, the careful control slipping just enough to show what's underneath. Victoria continued. The one that's been condemned for a decade. Margaret continues reading as if Victoria hadn't spoken. Prescott, the property is deeded in full. Taxes paid through the year 2030. All maintenance and upkeep costs covered by a separate trust established for this purpose. Maya's hands have gone numb. She stares at the table, at the wood grain that looks like waves frozen mid-crash. Victoria. That's it. Her voice sharp now, the mask cracking. Victoria continued. He left her a pile of rotting lumber in the woods, Prescott. That concludes the distribution of assets. Margaret closes the folder, stands, begins gathering papers that no longer matter. Prescott continued. Ms. Harrington, if you'll stay a moment. Victoria rises in a rustle of silk in satisfaction. She pauses beside Maya's chair. One manicured hand comes to rest on Maya's shoulder, just enough pressure to feel like a claim of victory. Victoria. At least you won't have to pay property taxes on something worthless. Her smile could cut diamonds. Victoria continued small mercies. Ethan follows his mother out, doesn't look back, doesn't meet Maya's eyes. The door clicks shut behind them with the soft certainty of a vault ceiling. Margaret waits until their footsteps fade down the hallway. Then she reaches into her briefcase, pulls out a single iron key. Old, heavy, spotted with rust that no amount of polish could erase. She sets it on the table between them. Prescott, your father was the sharpest man I ever knew, Maya, right up until the end. Maya picks up the key. It's cold, solid, real in a way that nothing else has felt since the funeral. Prescott continued. He wrote this will 3 weeks ago. His mind was completely clear, clearer than it had been in years, actually. Maya, then why would he? Margaret holds up one hand. Prescott. He told me something when he brought me this document. He said Victoria looks at price tags. Maya looks at value. She leans forward, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. Prescott continued. Then he asked me to tell you something. If you seem confused, Maya waits. Prescott continued. Trust him. Go to the house. Exterior. Highway Route 295 North Day. Maya's car is a vintage Mercedes, forest green. Her mother's car kept pristine through 14 years and 2 owners and more oil changes than any vehicle should reasonably need. It still smells like her mother's perfume if you know where to look. Chanel No. 5 embedded in the leather seats. Memory made molecular. The drive to Ironwood takes 90 minutes through weather that can't decide between rain and mist. Maya navigates back roads the county stopped maintaining years ago, past towns that exist as single traffic lights and gas stations that look abandoned even when they're not. Cell service dies somewhere around mile marker 47. The radio fades to static. She's driven this route 100 times, maybe more. Summers when her mother was still alive, and Ironwood meant adventure instead of inheritance. Before cancer and Victoria and corporate empires destroyed everything simple. The house had been whole then, or whole enough, built by her grandparents in the early 90s when lumber was cheap and dreams were manageable. Her mother, Catherine, had grown up there. had met William there during a summer when he was working construction to pay for business school. Maya remembers her mother's laugh echoing through those rooms, remembers flower fights in the kitchen and sleeping bags on the porch when the nights were warm enough. Remembers her father teaching her to identify birds by their calls, while her mother tended a garden that grew roses in colors that shouldn't have been possible. Then Catherine got sick, pancreatic cancer, fast and merciless, the kind that gives you 6 months and takes you in 4. Maya had been 14 years old enough to understand death, not old enough to believe in it. The funeral was in October, just like William's. The rain fell just as hard. William kept ironwood after Catherine died, brought Maya there every summer until she was 18. Then the visits stopped. He started seeing Victoria. Everything changed in ways that felt deliberate and wrong, like someone rearranging furniture in the dark. They married in 2021, 5 years that felt like 50. Victoria smiled her way into William's life with the precision of someone who'd studied the blueprints first. Within 6 months, the weekly dinners between William and Maya became monthly, then quarterly, then just birthday cards with signatures that didn't look quite like his handwriting anymore. The last time Maya saw her father before that final fishing trip was Christmas 2 years ago. He'd been at the penthouse surrounded by Victoria's friends and Victoria's caterers and Victoria's vision of what holiday gatherings should look like. He'd pulled Maya aside in the library, whispered that he was tired, that things weren't what they seemed. She'd assumed he meant his health. Now she wonders what else he meant. The trees thicken as the road climbs into foothills. Douglas fir and eastern white pine crowd close. Branches scrape the car's roof like fingers testing for weakness. A deer bolts across the road. Maya slams the brakes, heart hammering, watching the animal disappear into underbrush that could hide entire worlds. The turnoff to Ironwood Lane is barely visible, marked by a weathered sign that tilts 15 degrees to the left. She takes the turn. Gravel crunches under her tires, the sound loud in the silence it seems to swallow everything else. The lane curves through forest that's reclaimed most of the cleared land. Blackberry brambles thick enough to hide structures, ferns the size of umbrellas. Then the house comes into view. Maya's breath catches. Condemned is generous. Exterior Ironwood Estate. Continuous. The Victorian structure sags in the middle, like a spine that gave up supporting weight sometime in the last decade. The roof dips dangerously between support beams. Windows are boarded with plywood gone gray from weather and rot. The wraparound porch lists to one side. Missing railings, missing half its floorboards, a mouth with teeth knocked out by time and neglect. Paint peels in long strips, revealing bare wood underneath that's weathered to the color of old bones. The chimney tilts at an angle that defies physics. Vines strangle the eastern wall, climbing toward windows that will never open again. But the front fence, though old, has been recently mended. Chicken wire stretched between posts that are new enough to still show saw marks. The driveway, while overgrown, has been cleared within the last few months, and the front door, barely visible behind its frame of decay, has a lock that gleams with fresh oil. Someone has been maintaining this place recently. Maya cuts the engine. Silence rushes in, broken only by crows calling from the tree line and wind moving through branches with a sound like whispered warnings. She steps out of the car. Her boots sink into earth that smells like moss and decomposition and something else, something sharper underneath, like rust or old blood, or just the particular smell of abandonment. She walks toward the porch, testing each step before committing her weight. The wood groans but holds. She reaches the front door, pulls out the iron key Margaret gave her. A voice behind her makes her spin. Garrett off screen. You lost. Miss Maya's hand flies to the pepper spray in her jacket pocket. Garrett Sullivan stands at the edge of the driveway, maybe 36 years old, wearing a flannel shirt that's seen better decades and work boots that have walked through worse. He holds a toolbox in one hand, not threatening, but not exactly welcoming either. His face has the weathered quality of someone who's spent a lifetime outdoors, carved by sun and wind and weather into something resembling driftwood. Maya. I own this place. Her voice comes out steadier than she feels. Maya continued. My name is Maya Harrington. William Harrington was my father. Garrett's entire demeanor shifts. The wariness drains from his eyes, replaced by something that might be recognition, or grief, or both. Garrett, little Maya. He sets down the toolbox, moves closer, squinting in the fading light. Garrett conted Christ. You've got your mother's eyes, Maya. You knew them, Garrett knew them. I worked for your dad the last 8 months of his life. He extends a hand, calloused, strong, the hand of someone who builds things that last. Garrett continued. Garrett Sullivan, private investigator. Your father hired me to document this place and to watch over it. Maya, document it for what Garrett historical preservation. This house sits on top of something important. He gestures toward the foundation. Garrett conted. There's a tunnel system underneath, part of the old Underground Railroad network, 1880s, maybe earlier. Maya processes this, her architect's mind already working through the implications. Historic designation, protected status, sudden value in a structure everyone thought was worthless. Garrett continued. Your father paid me $2,000 a month, cash, to keep the generator running and make sure nobody stripped the copper or set up a meth lab in the basement. He looks up at the house, something complicated crossing his face. Garrett Contadea. He came out here every week, like clockwork, sat on that porch even when it wasn't safe, talked to your mother like she was still here listening. The grief hits Maya sideways, sudden and sharp enough to steal breath. She grabs the porch railing, feels it give slightly under her hand. Garrett steadies her elbow. Garrett continued. Easy now. Your father told me you might come. I figured it'd be under different circumstances. He looks at the door, at the lock gleaming with fresh oil. Garrett continued. Said if you showed up, I was to tell you he left something. Something that woman doesn't know exists. Maya Victoria, not a question. Garrett, the one with the smile that doesn't reach anywhere real. He moves past Maya, examines the door lock. Garrett continued, this is tricky. Got to lift the handle while you turn. Otherwise the bolt won't catch. Here. He takes the key from her hand, demonstrates the motion. The lock clicks. The door swings inward on hinges that should have screamed, but move silent as confession. The smell hits first. Into Ironwood Estate. Continuous dust and old paper and something metallic underneath, like pennies left in rain. Maya pulls out her phone, turns on the flashlight. The beam cuts through air thick with particles that dance like snow in summer. The interior is a disaster and a shrine. Furniture sits under white sheets gone gray with time. Shapes that could be couches or caskets or nothing at all. Wallpaper peels in long strips, curling away from the walls like skin after sunburn. Bird nests crowd the corners where ceiling meets wall. Twigs and feathers marking territory claimed by something other than memory. But there are clean spots. A path through the dust on the floor, boot prints that look recent. The kitchen doorway shows scrub marks where someone wiped down the frame. And above the fireplace in what used to be the living room hangs a portrait, Maya's father. The canvas has been slashed diagonally, but carefully, the damage preserved rather than hidden, reframed with the wound visible, a deliberate choice. Maya moves deeper into the house. The floorboards creak but hold. She avoids the soft spots where water damage has made the wood spongy and treacherous. Behind her, Garrett's footsteps fade toward the back of the house. Garrett calling out generators around back. Still got fuel. Let me fire her up before you go breaking your neck in the dark. Maya stands in the living room. The furniture under sheets forms strange geometries in the flashlight beam. She pulls back the nearest cover. Her mother's rocking chair, the one Catherine sat in every evening, to read or knit or just watch the sunset through windows that overlooked gardens now reclaimed by wilderness. Maya sinks into the chair. It holds her weight, solid despite everything. She sets her phone on the armrest. The light angles upward, illuminating the ceiling. Stars, painted in glow-in-the-dark paint that lost its glow years ago. But the shapes are still there. Constellations mapped from memory and imagination. Her mother had done that. One summer when Maya was 9 and terrified of the dark, Catherine had spent 3 nights on a ladder, painting a sky that never changed, never left, never stopped watching over her daughter. The lights flicker once, twice. Then the chandelier overhead buzzes to life. Dim yellow glow that turns the dust motes into tiny planets orbiting nothing. The house groans as power flows through wiring that probably shouldn't still work. Garrett returns, wiping grease from his hands onto a rag that started some other color. Garrett, she'll hold for a few hours. After that, you'll need to refuel or let her rest. Maya, thank you. She stands, suddenly aware of how small she feels in this room, in this house, in this inheritance that makes no sense. Garrett. Why did he keep coming here? Garrett moves to the mantel, his rough hands surprisingly gentle as he picks up something Maya hadn't noticed in the dark. A red envelope, her name written across it in her father's blocky handwriting. The letters pressed deep enough into the paper to leave shadows. Garrett. Probably for this. He hands it to her. Garrett continued. Said you'd know what it meant. Said you'd look closer than most people do. The envelope isn't sealed. Maya slides out a single index card, the kind her father used for everything. Grocery lists to million-dollar deals. His handwriting covers both sides in careful print. The penmanship of someone who learned to write before computers made it optional. The front reads, Little Architect Victoria sees price tags. Your mother saw hearts. This house holds our beginning and my end. Look where your mother's soul lived happiest. Maya turns the card over. The back holds coordinates and a date, October 1st, 2026, 6 days before he died. Her hands start shaking. She reads the words again, searching for meaning in the spaces between letters, where her mother's soul lived happiest. The garden, that has to be it. Catherine spent every spare moment tending roses, creating hybrids through patience and care, and something that looked like magic when you were 8 years old. But the coordinates don't point outside. They point here, to this room. Maya turns slowly, looking at the space with new eyes. The rocking chair, the painted stars, the portrait above the mantel, the living room where Catherine had rocked her daughter to sleep, where the family gathered on winter evenings when rain made going outside impossible, where her mother had laughed and lived and been happy before sickness stole those options, where Catherine's soul lived happiest. This room. Maya kneels on the floor beside the rocking chair. The rug underneath had been Persian once. Beautiful and expensive, but moths and time have reduced it to threads barely holding together. She grabs the edge, pulls. The rug comes up in a cloud of dust that makes her cough, makes her eyes water. Underneath, the floorboards run in a different pattern than the rest of the room. Not vertical planks, herringbone. The wood fitted together in precise angles that require skill and time and purpose. Right in the center sits a board with a circular indentation. Not a knot in the wood, too perfect for that, too deliberate. Maya Garrett, her voice barely above a whisper. Maya continued, "Do you have a crowbar?" Garrett steps closer, peers down at the floor. His breath catches. "Garrett, don't need one. That's a puzzle latch. Your father loved his puzzles." He kneels beside her. Garrett can't hook your finger in. Try pushing, pulling, twisting. One of them will work. Maya presses her index finger into the hole, twists clockwise. The board clicks. The sound echoes through the floor like a lock tumbler falling into place. Then a mechanical thunk vibrates up through her knees, loud enough to make them both jump. The entire center section of the floor lifts on hydraulic hinges, hissing and wheezing but moving smooth as intention. A 3-foot square opening up, revealing darkness underneath, and the top rungs of a ladder descending into nothing. Cool air rushes up from below, carrying the smell of concrete and filtered atmosphere. And something else, something that doesn't belong in a condemned house in the woods. The scent of electronics running, of climate control maintaining exact temperatures, of money. Garrett whistles low. Garrett, well, I'll be damned. Maya leans over the opening. Her phone's flashlight barely penetrates the darkness below, but she can make out the ladder running straight down. 20 feet, maybe 30. Professional construction, not something cobbled together with spare lumber and hope. Maya, I'm going down, Garrett. Let me get a work lamp. He disappears, returns with an industrial flashlight, the kind that could double as a weapon. He hands it to her. Garrett continued. Light switch should be on the right wall, about head height. If there's power down there, it'll be on a separate system from the house generator. The ladder rungs are cold even through Maya's shirt. She descends slowly, testing each step. The work lamp hangs from a strap around her wrist, swinging with each movement, throwing wild shadows against concrete walls. The walls are smooth, recent construction, the kind that costs serious money and requires serious planning. 20 rungs down, 30. The square of light from the living room above shrinks to the size of a postage stamp, barely visible in the dark. Her foot hits solid ground, concrete floor, perfectly level. She sweeps the lamp around, finds the wall, finds the switch exactly where Garrett said it would be. She flips it. The room blazes to life in stages, fluorescent lights flickering on one by one, revealing a space that shouldn't exist under a condemned house in the middle of nowhere. The vault is massive, easily 1,000 square feet. The walls are reinforced concrete, at least 18 inches thick, the kind used for storm shelters and bank vaults in places designed to outlast whatever happens on the surface. Ventilation systems hum in the ceiling. Modern HEPA filters, moving air through ducts that lead somewhere else, somewhere with power and purpose. The left wall holds floor-to-ceiling industrial shelving, stacked with heavy plastic bins. Maya moves toward them like a sleepwalker, her hands shaking as she pops the lid on the first container. Cash. Vacuum-sealed bricks of $100 bills, stacked with the precision of someone who spent hours making sure everything fit perfectly. She pulls one brick out. It's heavy, substantial, real. The second bin holds more cash. The third holds gold bars, wrapped in protective cloth, each one stamped with marks from the Perth Mint. The fourth holds her mother's jewelry, the sapphire necklace Victoria claimed was lost during a move, the diamond brooch Maya wore to senior prom, her grandmother's wedding ring that was supposed to have been sold to pay for Catherine's medical bills. Everything Victoria said had vanished. Everything Maya thought was gone forever. All here, all carefully preserved, all waiting. The right wall holds filing cabinets, dozens of them, each one labeled with dates and names in categories that make no immediate sense. The center of the room holds a massive glass and steel desk, 3 monitors sitting dormant in sleep mode, a leather office chair that looks like it costs more than her car, a keyboard, a mouse, and a small silver USB drive sitting next to a note written on another index card. For Maya, biometric scan required. She sits in the chair because standing feels impossible. Her legs have stopped working somewhere between the third bin of cash and the realization that her father had built this place, had spent years filling it, had left it all for her while giving Victoria the mansion and the stocks and all the things that looked valuable but apparently weren't. The computer monitors wake when she touches the mouse. A prompt appears on the center screen. Place thumb on scanner. She presses her thumb to the reader built into the desk's surface. The system beeps twice. Access granted. Welcome, Maya. A video window opens automatically. Her father's face fills the screen, close enough that she can see the lines around his eyes. The way his hair had gone completely white in the months before he died. He looks thin, exhausted, but his eyes blaze with the kind of intensity she remembers from childhood, from before Victoria, from when he was the kind of man who could will entire buildings into existence through sheer determination. William on video, Maya. His voice is rough, like he'd been coughing or crying or both. William continued, "If you're seeing this, then the vultures have picked the bones clean, and Victoria thinks she's won." He leans back in the chair, the same chair Maya sits in now, this same room. William continued, "I'm sorry I couldn't tell you in person. I couldn't risk her finding out." He runs both hands through his white hair. A gesture Maya recognizes, the thing he did when he was working through a problem that had too many variables and not enough solutions. William continued, "Your stepmother isn't just a gold digger, sweetheart. She's a criminal, a corporate parasite." He leans toward the camera. William continued, 5 years ago, I discovered Victoria was still legally married to Marcus Kincaid, CEO of Hartfield Properties, my biggest competitor. The screen splits, shows a marriage certificate. Nevada, 2017. Victoria Thorne and Marcus Kincaid. Signatures. Witness statements. Official seal. William Kunditi. They married in 2017. Never divorced, which means her marriage to me in 2021 was void. Bigamy. Maya's hands gripped the armrest hard enough to hurt. William continued, "Their plan was simple. Wait for me to die, inherit everything, merge Harrington Properties with Hartfield. Everything I built would become theirs." The video shows William in this vault, recording himself, planning this message like he planned everything else in his life, with precision and patience and attention to detail that most people mistake for paranoia. William continued, "I couldn't divorce her. The prenup has a clause Victoria insisted on. If I filed for divorce, she'd get 60% of everything immediately. She designed it that way. a trap that punished honesty and rewarded her continued presence. He smiles. It's terrifying and beautiful and the most William thing Maya has ever seen. William continued. So I played the fool. Let her think she was winning. Let her isolate me from you, from everyone who mattered. And while she was busy measuring drapes for the penthouse and planning how to spend my money, I was moving the foundation right out from under her feet. The screen shows documents, bank transfers, asset movements, a 5-year plan executed with surgical precision, William continued. Everything I left her in that will is garbage dressed up as gold. He counts on his fingers. William counted. The penthouse has a $41 million mortgage. Balloon payment due 30 days after my death. The stock portfolio is worthless preferred shares in shell companies I emptied and dissolved last year. The art collection is high-quality forgeries. The originals are here. He gestures at the vault around him. William Conte. The liquid cash in those bins is $44 million. Every cent taxed and legal and untraceable. The gold is worth another $13 million at current market rates. Your mother's jewelry, the pieces Victoria stole and sold off over the years. I bought them all back through private dealers. William leans toward the camera, his voice dropping to something almost gentle. William continued. But more important than the money, sweetheart, you have the files in those cabinets. Evidence of Victoria's insider trading, Marcus Kincaid's fraud, the bribes their associates took, everything you need to bury them, if you choose to. He pauses. When she stops the video later to really think about it, Maya will realize this pause lasts exactly 7 seconds. Time for her father to decide what comes next. Time for him to choose his final words. William continued. The will I left gives Victoria the shell. The pretty things that look valuable but aren't. She'll realize soon enough. But by then you'll be ready. His face softens. William continued. She'll come for ironwood. She'll think it's worthless land she can buy cheap and develop. She'll see the aquifer underneath. Start making deals with water companies. She'll show her hand because greed always does. William continued. And when she comes, you'll have everything you need to fight back. His eyes hold hers through the screen, through time, through death itself. William counted. Your mother and I bought this land with $200 in a dream. We built ironwood with our own hands, every beam and board and nail. We were happy here, Maya, happier than I ever was in that mansion on the harbor, happier than I've been in the last 5 years combined. He reaches toward the camera. His hand fills the screen for a moment. William Conte. I'm not leaving you nothing, sweetheart. I'm leaving you everything that matters. The money to fight, the truth to wield, and the home where love still lives in the walls. The image freezes. William's hand reaching, his face behind it, eyes that saw this moment coming, prepared for it, built toward it with the same focus he brought to everything else in his life. Maya sits in the silence of the vault for a long time. The ventilation system hums. The fluorescent lights buzz. Somewhere above her, in the wreck of a house that Victoria thought was worthless, Garrett probably wonders if she fell, or got lost, or just decided to stay down here forever. She stands, on legs that feel like water, moves to the filing cabinets. The first drawer holds folders labeled by month and year. She pulls December 2023. Email printouts. Victoria's personal account communicating with someone at Hartfield Properties. Details about Harrington Properties' upcoming acquisitions. Inside information that could move millions in stock value. All signed with Victoria's name. Her email, her digital fingerprint, all over evidence that would send her to federal prison. The next folder holds Marcus Kincaid's bank records, wire transfers to offshore accounts, deposits that don't match any legitimate income, withdrawals that correspond exactly to payments made to shell companies Victoria controlled. The next folder holds something that makes Maya's blood freeze. Marriage certificate. Victoria Thorne to Marcus Kincaid, June 15, 2017, Las Vegas, Nevada. She flips through the papers. Hotel receipts. Photos of Victoria and Marcus, both dressed for a wedding, standing in front of a chapel that advertised quickie ceremonies for $200. Copy of the marriage license. Copy of the certificate. No divorce decree. Maya checks the date again. June 2017. Victoria married William in June 2021. 4 years later. If there was no divorce. If Victoria was still married to Marcus when she married William. Then the marriage was void. Everything the will left to my wife would go to no one. Because there was no wife. The estate would default to intestate succession. Everything would go to William's only child. Everything would come to Maya. She closes the folder with hands that have stopped shaking and started burning instead. Her father had known, had found this, had spent 3 years quietly documenting every lie, every theft, every betrayal, had built this vault to hold the truth the same way he built ironwood to hold love. The next drawer holds folders labeled with her mother's name. Catherine Harrington, personal papers, medical records, and underneath all of it, a wooden box wrapped in ribbon that Catherine had tied 20 years ago. Maya lifts the box carefully. It's cedar, carved with roses along the edges. The kind of craftsmanship that takes time and patience, and hands that are not afraid of small details. She recognizes it immediately. Her mother's hope chest, the one that used to sit at the foot of her parents' bed. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper that crumbles at her touch, lies Catherine's wedding dress. Simple cream silk, tea length, the kind of dress a woman bought when she was marrying for love instead of show. Underneath that bundled letters tied with kitchen twine, Catherine's handwriting on the envelopes. Letters to William, written before they were married, when they were still just two kids who'd found each other in a town too small to hold their dreams. And underneath that, a leather-bound journal. No lock, no secrets, just Catherine's daily thoughts from 1992 until 2012, the year she died. Maya opens to a random page, May 2009. Her mother's handwriting flows across the page in loops and curves that look like music frozen mid-song. The doctors told me today, pancreatic, stage 4, 6 months if I'm lucky, 4 if I'm not. I haven't told William yet, haven't told Maya. How do you explain to a 14-year-old that her mother is dying? How do you teach her to live when you're learning to leave? But I'm writing this because I want her to know someday, when she's old enough to understand. I want her to know that Ironwood isn't just a house. It's where William and I learned that wealth has nothing to do with bank accounts and everything to do with mornings watching sunrise together, with his laugh when I burned dinner, with Maya's tiny hands helping me plant roses that will outlive us both. The entry continues for 3 more pages. Instructions for William on how to raise their daughter, wishes for Maya's future, hopes and fears in the kind of raw honesty that only comes when you know your time is finite and you need to say everything before the chance disappears. Maya reads until her vision blurs. Reads until she can't anymore. Then she closes the journal, holds it against her chest, feels grief and rage, and something else crash through her in waves that threaten to pull her under. Her father hadn't just left her money, he'd left her the truth about her mother, about their marriage, about what they'd built here before cancer and Victoria and corporate empires destroyed it all. He'd left her proof that love was real even when it ended. That home was a feeling before it was a structure. That what you build with your hands and heart outlasts what you buy with your wallet. Footsteps on the ladder make her look up. Garrett descends carefully, his work boots finding each rung with the precision of someone who spent a lifetime climbing things that shouldn't be climbed. Garrett, you okay down here? Sun's setting. Gets cold once the generator runs dry. Maya wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. Maya, I found everything, Garrett. Figured you might. He looks around the vault, not surprised, not shocked. Just nodding like this confirms something he had suspected for years. Garrett cunted. Your father was methodical. When he wanted something done right, he took his time and did it proper. Maya, how long have you known about this, Garrett? Built it myself. Well, me and a crew your dad brought in from Boston. Sworn to secrecy, paid in cash, the whole 9 yards. He moves to the desk, looks at the frozen image of William on the screen. Garrett continued, started in 2024, finished summer of 2025. He'd come down here every week, work on his files, organize everything just so. Maya, and you never told Victoria, Garrett. That woman never asked me nothing but to stay clear of the house. Said I made her nervous. Having an old investigator with questions hanging around, he spits into an empty corner. Garrett commented, your dad told me to keep my head down and my mouth shut. Said when the time came you'd find this and you'd understand. Maya, I understand. Maya stands, her legs steady now, her hands no longer shaking. Maya commented, I understand everything. Garrett, what are you going to do? The word comes out harder than she intended, sharper. Maya, fight. Garrett grins, and for a moment Maya sees the young man he must have been. The kind who built things that lasted and didn't back down when pressure came calling. Garrett, that's William's daughter talking. Your mother would be proud. A sound from above makes them both freeze. An engine, tires on gravel, headlights cutting through the dark and sweeping across windows that shouldn't show light because the house is supposed to be empty. Someone is here. Garrett moves to the ladder. Garrett, you expecting company? Maya, no. She grabs the USB drive from the desk, shoves it in her pocket, follows Garrett up. They climb fast, emerge into the living room just as headlights go dark outside. A truck door slams, footsteps on the porch, then a knock. Polite and careful. Nothing threatening about it. Garrett moves to the window, peers through a gap in the boards, then relaxes slightly. Garrett, it's just Ethan, Victoria's boy. Maya moves to the door, her heart still hammering, opens it. Ethan Thorne stands on the porch, 24 years old, wearing jeans and a jacket that looks borrowed, his face pale in the generator light spilling from inside. Ethan, Maya, I need to talk to you. His voice shakes, his hands shake. Everything about him screams fear. Ethan continued, it's about my mother, about what she's planning. He looks over his shoulder into the dark, like he expects Victoria to materialize from the trees. Ethan commented, she knows about Ironwood. She knows your father hid something here. Maya's blood goes cold. Ethan continued, and she's coming to take it. Ethan Thorne stands in the doorway like a manic confession. The generator light throws harsh shadows across his face, makes him look older than 24, makes him look like someone who's carried too many secrets for too long. Maya doesn't move, doesn't invite him in, just watches him with the same cold assessment her father used in boardrooms when someone was about to lie to him. Maya, how does she know Ethan? Because I told her. The words come out like shrapnel, sharp and cutting, and aimed at himself more than anyone else. Ethan continued, 2 years ago, your father asked me to install software on his phone, said it was for backup purposes, security. He won't meet her eyes. Ethan continued, it wasn't backup software, it was spyware. Mom gave it to me, told me William was getting paranoid, that we needed to protect him from himself. Garrett moves behind Maya, positioned between her and Ethan, protective without being obvious about it. Ethan continued, I recorded everything, his calls, his texts, his emails, every conversation he had for 18 months. Maya, you spied on a dying man, not a question, an accusation. Ethan, I was 22. She's my mother. She said we were helping him. His voice breaks. Ethan continued, I didn't know he was dying. She never told me that part. Just said he was confused, making bad decisions, that we needed to monitor him for his own good. Garrett, and you believed her. Ethan, I wanted to believe her. He finally looks up, meets Maya's eyes. His are red-rimmed, exhausted. Ethan continued, that's how she knew about Ironwood, about the asset transfers, about the vault plans. She heard William talking to contractors, saw the wire transfers to Sullivan investigations. He gestures at Garrett. Ethan continued, she knows he hid something here. She doesn't know what, but she knows it's valuable enough that he spent millions securing it. Maya's mind races through implications. If Victoria knows about the vault, she'll come for it. She'll bring lawyers, police, whatever force necessary to crack it open and take what's inside. Maya, why are you telling me this, Ethan? Because your father called me a year ago, October 2025. He pulls out his phone, fingers shaking as he navigates to a voice memo, presses play. William's voice fills the room, thin and rough, but unmistakably him. William recording. Ethan, this William Harrington. I know what you've been doing. I know your mother put you up to it. Pause. The sound of breathing. William continued. I'm not angry. You're a kid caught between loyalty and conscience. I remember what that feels like. Another pause. William continued. But I need you to listen carefully. Your mother is planning something that will hurt Maya, badly, and I need to know if you're going to help her do it. Ethan's voice comes through, younger, terrified. Ethan recording Mr. Harrington. I don't know what she's planning. She doesn't tell me everything. William recording. But you know enough to be scared. I can hear it in your voice. Silence. Ethan recording. She talks about closing the Harrington chapter, about making things right for what you did to her father. She says after you're gone, everything will be different. William. Recording different how? Ethan recording. She didn't say. But the way she talks about Maya, it's not good. More silence. Longer this time. William recording son. I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to think hard before you answer. When the time comes when Maya needs help, will you give it to her? Ethan recording, crying now. I don't know, I want to, but she's my mother. William recording. I understand, but remember this. Being loyal to someone who's doing wrong doesn't make you good. It just makes you complicit. The recording ends. Ethan stares at his phone, tears streaming down his face. Ethan, he was right about everything, and I've been complicit for 2 years. Maya, what's she planning now? Ethan, emergency conservatorship petition. She's filing tomorrow morning. Claims you're mentally unstable, living in an unsafe structure, unable to manage your inheritance. He looks around the room at the decay and the rot and the generator light barely holding back the dark. Ethan continued, Judge Raymond Caldwell is presiding. He owes Mom a favor. Something about your father destroying his family's development company back in 2008. Garrett swears quietly. Maya, a conservatorship would give her control of everything. Ethan, for 18 months minimum, maybe longer if she can convince the court you're incompetent. He steps closer, desperate now. Ethan continued. But there's more. She's working with Marcus Kincaid, CEO of Hartfield Properties. They're planning something big. I don't know all the details, but I heard them on the phone 3 days ago. Maya, what did they say? Ethan Marcus said the stocks William left her are worthless, that the penthouse is mortgaged to hell, that your father played them. A bitter laugh escapes him. Ethan continued. Mom threw a vase through a window. Then she got very quiet. That's when I knew she was dangerous. Garrett quiet. How Ethan? The way she gets when she's planning something. Cold, focused. She told Marcus they needed to move fast, that ironwood was the key, that once they controlled it, they could salvage everything. Maya processes this. Her father's plan accounted for Victoria discovering the worthless inheritance, predicted she'd come for ironwood. But William died before he could finish setting the trap. Now it's on Maya to spring it. Maya, you have recordings of Victoria and Marcus Ethan everything. 18 months of conversations. Some of it's just business. But some of it, he trails off. Ethan continued. Some of it's conspiracy to commit fraud. Maybe worse. Maya, I need those recordings. Ethan, I'll give them to you, all of it, but I need something in return. Here it comes. The transaction, the price, Maya. What Ethan immunity, protection. I owe $370,000 to people who break legs when you're late on payments. He pulls back his sleeve, shows bruises, fresh ones. Ethan continued. They came to collect last week. Mom promised she'd have the money after the inheritance cleared. But if the inheritance is worthless, he doesn't finish, doesn't need to. Maya, you want me to pay your gambling debts? Ethan, I want you to save my life. Garrett moves closer to Maya, speaks low enough that Ethan can't hear. Garrett could be a trap. Victoria sent him to see what you know, to report back. Maya, equally quiet, could be, but my father trusted him enough to call, to ask for help. Garrett, your father also documented his crimes in that vault. Trust and verify. Maya studies Ethan, really looks at him, sees the fear, the shame, the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, someone will offer him a way out of the hole he's dug himself into. She thinks about what her mother wrote in that journal, about building forward, about second chances. Maya, I'll pay your debts. $370,000. Cash. Tonight if you want. Ethan's eyes go wide. Maya Conti. But you give me everything. Every recording, every email, every text message, and you testify. In court if it comes to that, Ethan. And against my mother, Maya. Against anyone who broke the law, including yourself if necessary. She steps closer, close enough to see the broken capillaries in his eyes, the evidence of too many late nights and bad decisions. Maya continued, my father left you something too. Did you know that? Ethan shakes his head. Maya continued, a trust fund, $2.5 million, activated upon his death. She watches this information hit him like a physical blow. Maya continued, he could have left you nothing. You spied on him, betrayed him, helped Victoria isolate him from everyone who cared. Tears streaming now. Ethan can't speak. Maya continued, but he left you a second chance anyway, because he believed you deserved one. She holds out her hand. Maya continued. So here's the deal. You give me everything you have on Victoria and Marcus. You testify honestly about what you know. And I give you the money to clear your debts and access to the trust fund your father should have given you. Ethan stares at her hand like it might disappear if he reaches for it. Ethan, why would you do this, Maya? Because someone has to break the cycle, might as well be us. Ethan takes her hand, shakes it, holds on maybe a second too long. Ethan, the recordings are on a secure server, encrypted. I'll send you the access codes tonight. Maya, good. Now tell me everything you know about the conservatorship petition. Interior, Ironwood Estate. Archive room, later. Midnight. The vault glows with fluorescent light. Maya sits at her father's desk. Garrett stands behind her. Ethan perches on a folding chair they brought down from upstairs. 3 monitors display Ethan's recordings. Hundreds of files, organized by date and participant. Maya clicks on one. December 2024. Victoria's voice fills the room, sharp and cold, and nothing like the grieving widow she played at the funeral. Victoria recording Marcus the old fool is dying. 6 months according to his oncologist. Maybe less. Marcus recording and the will, Victoria recording. Finalized last week, I inherit 70% of the estate. The daughter gets scraps. Laughter, cruel and satisfied. Marcus recording. When he's gone, we merge Harrington Properties with Hartfield. Announce it as a memorial to his legacy. Very touching. Victoria recording. Very profitable. His client list alone is worth $200 million. Maya's hands curl into fists. Garrett puts a hand on her shoulder. Garrett, keep listening. Gets worse. The recording continues. Marcus recording. What about the daughter she'll contest? Victoria recording. Let her try. Caldwell owes me. Brennan owes me. Every judge and prosecutor in this city remembers what William Harrington did to their families. Victoria continued recording. They'll bury her in legal fees, tie her up for years. By the time she sees a courtroom, we'll have liquidated everything worth taking. Marcus recording. And if she finds something, if William he had assets, pause. Long enough to hear Victoria breathing, Victoria recording. Then we make her disappear. Quietly, in accident, like her mother. The room goes silent. Maya looks at Ethan. Maya. Like her mother, Ethan won't meet her eyes. Ethan, keep listening. There's more. Maya clicks forward, finds a file labeled June 2012. Victoria's voice. Younger, harder if that's possible. Victoria recording, the mechanic confirmed. Brake line cut clean, untraceable unless you know what you're looking for. Unknown male voice recording and the payment, Victoria. Recording 50,000. Cash. Half now, half when it's done. Unknown male voice recording. She drives that route every Thursday, coming home from the garden center. Sharp curves, no guardrails. Victoria recording. Make it look natural. I want William to grieve, not investigate. The recording ends. Maya sits very still. The kind of still that comes before earthquakes, before buildings fall. Maya, that's my mother she's talking about. Not a question, a statement of fact. Cold and final as a death certificate. Ethan. I was 12. I didn't understand what I was hearing, not then. Maya. When did you understand Ethan? 3 years ago. I was going through old files. Found this recording buried in an encrypted folder labeled insurance. He looks at her finally. Ethan continued. I confronted her, asked what it meant. She told me it was from a movie script, research for a character she was developing. Garrett. And you believed her, Ethan. I wanted to believe her. He stands, paces, the small room making his agitation worse. Ethan continued, but then I started paying attention. The way she talked about your mother, always past tense, always with this edge of satisfaction. Ethan continued, and William, the way she managed him, controlled his medication, isolated him from you. It wasn't love, it was strategy. Maya, why didn't you go to the police, Ethan? With what? A 14-year-old recording I obtained illegally by spying on my own mother. He laughs, bitter and broken. Ethan continued. I'm complicit, Maya, in all of it. The spying, the conspiracy, maybe even the murder if a prosecutor decides to charge me as an accessory. Garrett, that's why you need immunity. Ethan, that's why I need someone to believe I'm not like her. Maya stands, moves to the filing cabinets, pulls the folder labeled Catherine Harrington, 2012. Inside, everything her father collected, traffic camera footage, mechanic records, the name Leo Castellano circled in red, and a note in William's handwriting. Mechanic found dead 2013. Overdose. Suspicious. Victoria's enforcer. No proof yet. Maya turns to Ethan. Maya, who's the man on the recording, the one Victoria paid to cut the brake line? Ethan Leo Castellano. He owned an auto shop on Route 22, fixed Mom's car a few times when I was a kid. Maya, he's dead, Ethan. Overdose, 2013. Everyone said it was tragic, that he'd been sober for years but relapsed. Garrett moves to the computer, starts typing. Garrett Leo Castellano, found dead in his apartment, August 2013. Needle in his arm, enough fentanyl in his system to kill 3 people. He pulls up police records, crime scene photos. Garrett continued. But look at this. No drug paraphernalia in the apartment except the needle. No history of intravenous drug use. Scars on his arms from track work, not tracks. Maya Victoria had him killed, Garrett. Probably, can't prove it, but the pattern fits. Eliminate the witness. Make it look like an accident or an overdose. He looks at Ethan. Garrett continued. You need to be careful. You're a witness now, too. Ethan. I know. Maya pulls out her phone, dials. Maya. Maggie, it's Maya Harrington. I need you at Ironwood. Tonight, bring whatever you need for a legal declaration. Pause, Mom. Maya continued. Because we're going to war and I need my attorney present when we load the guns. Extara. Ironwood Estate. Front porch. Night. An hour later, Margaret Prescott arrives in a Lincoln town car that looks like it's been waxed weekly since 1995. She steps out carrying a briefcase and wearing a raincoat over what was probably a cocktail dress before Maya's call interrupted her evening. Prescott, this better be good. I was at the symphony. Maya, it's better than good. It's prosecutable. They move inside, down to the vault. Margaret's expression doesn't change as she descends the ladder. Doesn't react to the cash or the gold or the evidence stacked in careful rows. She's seen enough in 30 years that very little surprises her anymore. But when Maya plays the recordings, something flickers across her face. Something that might be rage, or might be vindication, or might be both. Prescott. That's conspiracy to commit murder. First degree if we can prove planning and intent. Maya, we can prove it. Ethan's testimony, the recording, Dad's evidence about the mechanic. Prescott, Ethan is an accomplice. His testimony alone won't convict. Ethan, I'll take a polygraph. I'll testify under oath. Whatever you need. Margaret studies him, the same cold assessment she probably used on every witness she's ever prepped for trial. Prescott, you recorded your mother illegally. Any defense attorney worth their retainer will have this thrown out as inadmissible. Garrett, not if we get her to confess voluntarily. Everyone looks at him. Garrett continued, set up a meeting here at Ironwood. Wire the place. Get Victoria talking about Catherine's death, about Marcus, about the whole conspiracy. Garrett continued, she thinks Maya's weak, thinks she's won. People get careless when they think they've already won. Prescott, that's entrapment. Garrett, that's giving someone enough rope to hang themselves. Maya, Dad predicted this. He said Victoria would come for Ironwood when she discovered the stocks were worthless. She pulls out the index card, the one with her father's handwriting. Maya continued, he said to get her confession on record, then use the archive to bury her. Prescott, the archive helps with fraud charges, corporate espionage, maybe racketeering, but murder is different. Maya, then we get her to confess to murder. Prescott, and how exactly do you plan to do that? Maya smiles. It's her father's smile. Cold and calculating and certain. Maya, by making her think she's already won. In Tupio Portland Harbor Club, private dining room. Night, 2 days later, the Harbor Club occupies the top floor of a building that used to be a warehouse. Now it's glass and steel, and the kind of exclusivity that comes with a 10-year waiting list for membership. Maya sits at a corner table. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the harbor. Lights from boats dancing on black water. She wears a suit, tailored and expensive. The armor of someone who belongs in rooms like this. She's early, deliberately so. The waiter brings water, asks if she wants wine. She declines, needs to stay sharp for what's coming. Marcus Kincaid arrives exactly on time. 52 years old, silver hair perfectly styled, tailored suit that probably costs more than most people's monthly rent. He moves with the confidence of someone who's never been told no by anyone who mattered. Marcus, Ms. Harrington, thank you for agreeing to meet. He sits without waiting for invitation, orders wine without asking if she wants any. Maya, you said it was urgent about my inheritance. Marcus, it is. Victoria is concerned about you. Maya, I'm sure she is. Marcus, living in that structure. Ironwood, it's unsafe. The county's prepared to condemn it, Maya. The county or you. A flicker of something crosses his face. Annoyance, maybe, or respect. Marcus, Victoria has filed for emergency conservatorship for your own protection. Maya, how kind. Marcus, Judge Caldwell will grant it. You'll be appointed a guardian. Someone to manage your affairs until you're deemed competent. He leans forward. Marcus Conted, we're prepared to make this easy. $750,000 for Ironwood and all contents. You walk away, start fresh somewhere that doesn't require a tetanus shot. Maya pulls a folder from her bag, slides it across the table. Inside, photos, Victoria and Marcus, wedding photo from 2017, marriage certificate, Nevada state seal clearly visible. Marcus's face goes carefully blank. Maya bigamy is 5 years federal minimum, unless you cooperate. The wine arrives, Marcus doesn't touch it. Marcus, your father was paranoid. End-stage dementia made him fabricate conspiracy theories. Maya, is that what you'll tell the FBI? Marcus, this evidence won't hold up. Nevada records are easily forged. Maya, I have the original, certified, notarized, 17 separate witnesses to your marriage. She leans back, lets him sweat. Maya continued. But that's not even the interesting part. Want to know what else I found? Marcus says nothing, his jaw working. Maya continued. Recordings. Hundreds of hours. You and Victoria planning how to steal my father's company, how to liquidate his assets, how to make me disappear if I became a problem. Marcus, you're bluffing? Maya, am I? She pulls out her phone, taps play. His own voice fills the space between them. Marcus recording, Henny's gone, we merge Harrington Properties with Hartfield. His client list alone is worth $200 million. She stops the recording. Maya, I have 18 months of this. Want to hear more? Marcus stands, throws his napkin on the table. Marcus, you think you've won. You think your father was clever. He leans down, close enough that she can smell his cologne. Expensive and cloying. Marcus continued. But you're forgetting something. Your father destroyed 3 companies building his empire. He counts on his fingers. Marcus continued. Thorn Industries. Victoria's father killed himself after William bankrupted him. Caldwell Development. The judge's family business destroyed. Brennan and Associates. The DA's father's law firm dissolved. Marcus continued. Guess who's presiding over your conservatorship hearing tomorrow? Guess who decides whether to prosecute Victoria? Guess who controls every permit, every license, every official document you'll need to rebuild Ironwood? He straightens. Marcus Quintadi. The system isn't neutral, Ms. Harrington. It's actively hostile. Every institution your father corrupted is now weaponized against you. Marcus Cunted, take the deal. Walk away. Or we crush you using the very structures your father built his empire on. He walks out without looking back. Maya sits in the silence, the harbor lights dancing below, her reflection in the glass looking back at her. She pulls out her phone, dials Garrett. Maya, he took the bait. Victoria will move fast now. Garrett over phone. Ironwood's ready. Cameras in every room, microphones in 6 locations, everything encrypted and uploading to remote servers. Maya, good. Send her the message. Tonight. Exterior. Victoria's penthouse. Boston Harbor. Night. The penthouse occupies the entire 40th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Marble imported from Italy. Art that costs more than most people earn in a decade. Victoria stands at those windows, looking down at the city, a glass of wine in one hand, her phone in the other. The phone buzzes, text message from unknown number. I know about the archive. Meet me at Ironwood tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Come alone or I release everything to the press. Victoria reads it twice, 3 times, then she dials. Victoria Marcus, she knows about all of it. Marcus over phone, how much Victoria? Enough to threaten exposure. She wants to meet at Ironwood. Marcus over phone, it's a trap, Victoria. Of course it's a trap, but she has evidence we can't let surface. She finishes her wine, sets the glass down with enough force to crack the stem. Victoria continued tomorrow night. We end this, permanently if necessary. Marcus over phone, Victoria. If you're suggesting what I think you're suggesting, Victoria, I'm suggesting we protect what's ours, by any means necessary. She hangs up, stares at her reflection in the window, at the woman who spent 20 years planning revenge, who's so close to victory she can taste it. Tomorrow night she'll have everything, or lose it all. Interior, Ironwood Estate, archive room, night. Maya sits at her father's desk. Garrett runs final checks on recording equipment. Ethan paces. Margaret reviews legal documents. Prescott, this is reckless. If she suspects, if she brings backup, if anything goes wrong. Maya, it won't. Prescott, how can you be sure, Maya? Because she's greedy, and greed makes people stupid. Garrett finishes his checks. Garrett, we're live, 6 cameras, audio in every room, everything uploading to 3 separate servers. Even if she finds the equipment, we'll have copies. Maya, good. Ethan, you're sure she doesn't know you're helping us, Ethan? She thinks I'm gambling in Atlantic City. Sent her a photo from the boardwalk this morning. Maya, then tomorrow we spring the trap my father built. She looks at the frozen image of William on the monitor, his hand reaching toward the camera, toward her, across team and death and everything that tried to keep them apart. Maya continued, tomorrow we finish what he started. Exterior Ironwood Estate. Night the next day. 10 p.m. The house sits dark except for generator light spilling from a few windows, making it look occupied but vulnerable. Bait in a trap carefully set. Headlights cut through the trees. A black Mercedes, Victoria's car. She parks, sits for a moment, looking at the house, calculating odds, measuring risks. Then she steps out. Designer coat, heels that sink into mud. She doesn't care. This is the end game. Fashion is irrelevant. She walks to the porch, knocks. The door opens. Maya stands there, backlit, silhouetted. Maya, you came. Victoria, you have something that belongs to me. Maya, do I, Victoria? The archive. Everything William collected. His paranoid fantasies about me and Marcus. Maya, they're not fantasies. Victoria steps inside, looks around. At the decay and the dust in the generator light, barely holding back the dark. Victoria, my God, you're actually living here. Maya, it's home. Victoria, it's a death trap. She moves to the center of the room, where Garrett's cameras can capture every angle. Victoria continued, where is it, the archive? Maya, first we talk about my mother. Victoria's mask slips, just for a second, just enough. Victoria, your mother was 14 years ago. Let her rest, Maya. I would if you'd let her rest in peace instead of murdering her. The word hangs between them, sharp as broken glass. Victoria, careful, darling. Accusations like that require evidence. Maya, I have evidence. Maya pulls out her phone, plays the recording. Victoria's voice from 2012. Clear as a confession, Victoria recording. The mechanic confirmed. Brake line cut clean, make it look natural. The recording ends. Victoria's face goes very still. The kind of still that comes before violence. Victoria, where did you get that, Maya? Does it matter? Victoria, that recording is inadmissible. Obtained illegally. No court will accept it. Maya, maybe, but the press will love it. Victoria laughs, cold and sharp. Victoria, you think you can threaten me? You think your father's paranoid fantasies give you power? She steps closer, into Maya's space. Victoria continued, he destroyed my family. My father killed himself because of William and Harrington's greed. Do you understand that my father died broken and humiliated because yours needed to win? Maya, so you killed my mother for revenge. Victoria, your mother was in the way. The words explode out of her. Years of rage finally finding voice. Victoria continued, she had everything I deserved, the house, the husband, the perfect little life. And she found out about Marcus and me, was going to tell William before I was ready. Victoria continued, I did what I had to do. She had to go, Maya. You cut her brake line, paid Leo Castellano $50,000, then killed him too when he became a liability. Victoria. Leo was a drug addict. His overdose was inevitable. Maya. It was murder. Victoria. It was cleanup. She's screaming now. The careful control completely gone. Victoria continued. And I do it again, your mother, Leo. Anyone who gets between me and what I'm owed. A sound from the doorway. Both women turn. Marcus Kincaid stands there, holding a pistol, pointed at both of them. Marcus. Victoria. You absolute fool. Victoria's face goes from rage to confusion. Victoria. Marcus. What are you doing, Marcus? Saving myself. He steps inside. Gun steady, professional. Marcus continued. You just confessed to murder. On camera. He gestures to the corners, to the small lenses Garrett placed so carefully. Marcus continued. Did you really think Maya would meet you here without insurance? Victoria? You knew, Marcus. Of course I knew. I helped her set it up. He looks at Maya. Marcus continued. I'm sorry, Miss Harrington, but I can't let either of you leave here with that recording. Maya's heart hammers. This wasn't the plan. Marcus wasn't supposed to be here. Wasn't supposed to know. Marcus continued. My original plan was simple. Wait for William to marry Victoria publicly, merge our companies. But your father moved the assets, made Victoria's inheritance worthless. He moves closer, gun never wavering. Marcus continued. So new plan, kill you both. Frame it as murder-suicide. Grieving widow kills stepdaughter in rage over inheritance, then kills herself in remorse. Marcus continued. I discover the bodies. Produce forged documents showing William sold me Harrington properties before his death. Destroy the archive. Clean sweep. Victoria backs away, finally understanding she's been used. Victoria, you were using me, all of it. You never loved me. Marcus. Love, Victoria. We were business partners, nothing more. A sound behind Marcus. Garrett steps from the shadows. Service weapon drawn. Garrett. Drop it, Kincaid. Marcus spins, fires. Garrett dives behind furniture. Victoria screams, runs for the door. Maya runs for the archive room. For the ladder. For anywhere but here. Gunshots, splintering wood. Garrett returning fire. Then sirens. Growing louder. Police had been waiting a quarter-mile down the road. Silent alarm triggered the moment Marcus pulled his weapon. Marcus cornered. Drops the gun. Hands up. Marcus, this isn't over. Garrett, yes, it is. Officers flood in, weapons drawn, shouting commands. They take Marcus first, then Victoria, both in handcuffs, both screaming different versions of innocence. Maya stands in the center of the room, heart hammering, ears ringing from gunshots. Garrett moves to her side. Garrett, you okay, Maya? Define okay. He almost smiles. Garrett, we got it. All of it. The confession. Marcus's threats. Everything admissible and recorded. Maya, my father knew. He knew exactly how this would play out. Garrett, he knew people, their patterns, their weaknesses. He built this trap knowing they'd walk right into it. Maya looks at the cameras, at the equipment still recording, still uploading. Maya, then let's make sure they stay caught. Outside police lights paint the forest red and blue. Victoria and Marcus loaded into separate cars, both headed for a cage they built with their own greed. And Maya stands in the doorway of Ironwood, the house her parents built with love, that Victoria tried to destroy with hate. Still standing, still hers. Maya wakes to sunlight streaming through windows she forgot to cover. Her apartment is temporary, a furnished rental near the old port. Everything beige and impersonal. A place to sleep while Ironwood undergoes the restoration her father planned but never lived to see. Her phone buzzes. 17 missed calls, 43 text messages. The media found her number somewhere between the arrest and the morning news cycle. She ignores all of it. Showers, dresses in the same black suit she wore to meet Marcus. Armor for what comes next. The conservatorship hearing is in 2 hours. Even with Victoria in custody, even with Marcus arrested for attempted murder, even with recordings of conspiracy and confession, the legal machinery keeps grinding forward. Paperwork filed doesn't unfile itself just because the petitioner is now wearing orange. Margaret warned her. The system moves slower than justice. Interior. Cumberland County Courthouse. Hallway, day. The courthouse smells like floor wax and old arguments. Maya arrives 30 minutes early, sits on a bench outside courtroom 3, watching lawyers and plaintiffs in the machinery of law process human suffering into billable hours. Garrett finds her there. Garrett, you ready, Maya? No, but I'm here anyway. He sits beside her, hands her a coffee. Black, the way she's been drinking it since her father died. Garrett. Maggie's inside. Already filed motion to dismiss based on petitioner's arrest. Judge has to at least hear it. Maya. You said Judge Caldwell owes Victoria, that my father destroyed his family's company. Garrett. Doesn't matter, not anymore. Federal prosecutor's office is investigating everyone connected to this case. Caldwell knows the walls are closing in. Maya, so he'll recuse himself to avoid scrutiny. Garrett, if he's smart. The courtroom doors open. A bailiff calls Maya's name. Time to find out if Raymond Caldwell is smart or stubborn. Interior. Courtroom 3, continuous. The courtroom is smaller than Maya expected. 20 rows of benches, half of them filled with reporters who smell blood in the water. A story about murdered mothers and bigamous stepmothers, and vaults full of blackmail material. This is the kind of thing that sells papers. Judge Raymond Caldwell sits behind the bench, 70 years old. Gray hair, gray suit, gray expression. A man who's watched his world crumble in 3 days and is trying very hard not to show it. Margaret sits at the defense table, tailored suit, reading glasses perched on her nose. The picture of competent legal representation. At the plaintiff's table, empty. Victoria's lawyer withdrew yesterday. Ethics violation, conflict of interest. Take your pick of reasons. The bailiff calls the court to order. Caldwell, case number 26-447. In the matter of the petition for conservatorship of Maya Rose Harrington. His voice is flat, tired, a man going through motions he no longer believes in. Caldwell continued, I understand the petitioner Victoria Thorne is currently in federal custody. Prescott. That's correct, Your Honor. Ms. Thorne was arrested 3 days ago on charges of conspiracy to commit murder, attempted fraud, and bigamy. Caldwell. And the basis of this conservatorship petition was Ms. Thorne's concern for her stepdaughter's mental competence. Prescott. A concern we now understand to be entirely fabricated, part of a larger conspiracy to defraud my client of her rightful inheritance. Margaret stands, papers in hand. Prescott continued, I'm filing a motion to dismiss with prejudice. The petitioner has no standing. The allegations have no merit, and my client has cooperated fully with law enforcement to expose criminal conspiracy. She slides documents across to the bailiff. who delivers them to Caldwell. The judge reads, takes his time, every line a reminder of how badly he miscalculated. Caldwell, Ms. Prescott, I understand your client has been living at a property currently listed as condemned by the county health department. Prescott, the Ironwood Estate, which has historical significance as part of the Underground Railroad network. My client is in the process of restoring it, with proper permits and professional contractors. Caldwell and her employment status. Prescott, Ms. Harrington recently resigned from her position to focus on establishing a nonprofit educational foundation, the Catherine Harrington Center for Ethical Architecture, fully funded and operational. Caldwell sets down the papers. Caldwell, Miss Harrington, please stand. Maya rises, feels 300 eyes on her back. The reporters, the cameras, the weight of public attention. Caldwell counted. I've reviewed the evidence, the recordings, the testimony, the documentation your father left behind. He pauses. Caldwell continued. Your father destroyed my family's business in 2008. Caldwell Development, 3 generations of work, gone because William Harrington decided he wanted our client list. Maya says nothing, just holds his gaze. Caldwell continued, I've spent 18 years angry at him, at you by extension, at everyone with the last name Harrington. He removes his reading glasses, rubs his eyes like a man who hasn't slept in days. Caldwell continued, but I took an oath to uphold the law impartially, to render justice without bias. Caldwell continued, I'm recusing myself from this case, effective immediately. Case will be transferred to Judge Elizabeth Monroe, Federal Court. Murmur through the gallery. Reporters typing furiously. Caldwell continued, but before I do, I'm granting Ms. Prescott's motion to dismiss. This conservatorship petition is without merit. Denied with prejudice. He brings down the gavel. Caldwell continued, Ms. Harrington, your father was a ruthless man. He hurt people building his empire, my family included. Caldwell continued, but he loved you, that much is clear. Don't waste what he gave you. Maya, I won't, Your Honor. Caldwell, we're adjourned. The gavel comes down again. Final, certain. Maya sits, legs suddenly weak, the adrenaline draining all at once. Margaret squeezes her shoulder. Prescott, phase 1 complete. Now comes the hard part. Maya, what's harder than this? Prescott watching Victoria go on trial, testifying, reliving your mother's murder in front of cameras and jury and everyone who wants to turn your family's tragedy into entertainment. Maya, when does it start, Prescott? Federal prosecutor wants to move fast. 6 months, maybe less. 6 months. Not long in legal terms. A lifetime when you're waiting for justice. Exterior, courthouse, step. The media swarms as Maya exits, microphones thrust in her face, questions shouted over each other. Reporter number 1, Ms. Harrington, how do you feel about Victoria's arrest? Reporter number 2, is it true your father was blackmailing 52 people? Reporter number 3, what will you do with the inheritance? Garrett clears a path, his bulk and his glare enough to make even aggressive reporters think twice. But Maya stops, turns to face the cameras. Maya, I'll make one statement, then no more questions. The crowd quiets, waiting. Maya continued. My father was a complicated man. He built an empire through determination and strategy. He also made enemies, hurt people, destroyed businesses that got in his way. She looks directly into the nearest camera. Maya continued, But in his final years, he tried to make things right. He documented corruption, exposed fraud, and he left me the tools to finish what he started. Maya continued, "The Harrington Archive will be turned over to federal authorities, every file, every piece of evidence. Justice delayed is not justice denied." Reporter number 1. What about Victoria Thorne? Do you want to see her convicted, Maya? I want to see the truth come out. Whatever consequences follow are hers to face. Reporter number 3. And your mother, Catherine Harrington. Maya's composure cracks. Just for a second. Maya, my mother was murdered by someone she trusted. Someone who smiled at family dinners while planning her death. Maya continued, I can't bring her back, but I can make sure everyone knows what was taken from us, and I can build something she'd be proud of with what remains. She turns, walks to Garrett's truck, climbs in. The reporters keep shouting, but the important part is done. The world knows, and then there's no walking it back. Into Garrett's truck, moving day. They drive in silence, out of Portland, toward Ironwood, toward the house that started everything. Garrett, you did good back there. Maya, I didn't cry, that's something, Garrett. Crying isn't weakness. Maya, my father never cried, not once that I saw, Garrett. Your father cried plenty, just not where people could see. Maya looks at him. Garrett continued, I found him here once, at Ironwood, sitting on the porch, holding your mother's wedding dress and sobbing like a child. Garrett continued, said he failed her, let Victoria into their lives, couldn't prove what she'd done, couldn't protect you from what was coming. Maya, when was this, Garrett? 6 months before he died, right after his diagnosis. Garrett keeps his eyes on the road. Garrett counted. He wasn't cold, Maya, he was broken. And he spent his last year trying to build you armor out of evidence and money, and the only kind of love he knew how to give. Maya, justice. Garrett, justice. And a chance to do better than he did. They drive the rest of the way without speaking. Exterior, Ironwood Estate, day. The house looks different in daylight, still damaged, still sagging, but somehow more hopeful. A construction crew works on the roof, replacing rotted beams, the sound of hammers and saws, the noise of resurrection. A truck in the driveway reads Sullivan Restoration. Garrett's company, the one he started after leaving the FBI, after deciding that building things mattered more than tearing them down. Maya, you're restoring it, Garrett. Your father hired me to document it. Seemed right to finish the job. He parks, they get out. The foreman waves from the roof, Garrett waves back. Maya, I can't pay you, not yet. The estate is still in probate. Garrett, your father paid me a year in advance. This is just finishing what I started. They walk to the porch. The steps are new, solid. No more testing each board before committing weight. Inside, the transformation is dramatic. Walls stripped to studs, floors sanded to bare wood. Everything gutted and ready to be rebuilt properly, Garrett continued. Foundation is sound. The bones are good. Just needs someone to care enough to fix the rest. Maya, how long, Garrett? 6 months for basic restoration. Another year to get it historically certified. Maya, and the cost, Garrett, $2 million. Give or take. Maya thinks about the vault, the $44 million in there, the gold, the resources her father left specifically for this purpose. Maya, do it, whatever it takes. Make it beautiful again, Garrett. You sound like him. Maya, good. They stand in the gutted living room, where Maya's mother rocked her to sleep, where the family gathered before cancer and Victoria and corporate empires destroyed everything simple. Maya continued, I want to build something here, the center my father mentioned, for architecture students who can't afford traditional programs. Garrett training the next generation. Maya, teaching them what my parents taught me, that buildings are more than investments, they're homes, communities, legacy. Garrett, your mother would love that. Maya, I hope so. A sound from the basement. Voices. Maya tenses. Garrett puts a hand on her shoulder. Garrett, just workers, reinforcing the vault entrance, making it accessible for the center. Maya, you're turning my father's secret bunker into a classroom. Garrett seemed appropriate. Secrets to education, hoarding to sharing. Maya smiles despite everything. Maya, he'd hate it. Garrett, probably, but your mother would love it, and she's the one who matters now. Interior, Federal Courthouse, Boston, day 6 months later. The trial of Victoria Thorne draws crowds, every seat filled, overflow watching on monitors in adjacent courtrooms. The media has turned it into a spectacle. Streaming coverage, expert analysis, breathless commentary. Maya sits in the front row. Behind the prosecution, Garrett on her left, Margaret on her right, a wall of support against the weight of a public attention. Federal prosecutor James Wolfe is 56, silver-haired. 3 decades of putting criminals behind bars etched into every line of his face. He approaches the bench with the confidence of someone who's never lost a case this solid. Victoria sits at the defense table. 6 months in custody has aged her. No more designer suits, no more perfect hair, just the orange jumpsuit and the haunted look of someone who gambled everything and lost. Her lawyer is expensive, connected, good at his job, but even good lawyers can't overcome recorded confessions. Wolfe, Your Honor, the prosecution calls Ethan Thorne. Ethan walks to the stand, 24 years old, sober for 6 months, working as a counselor at a treatment center Margaret helped him find. He looks healthier, clearer, like someone who finally stepped out of a shadow that's followed him his entire life. He's sworn in, sits. Wolfe continued, Mr. Thorne. Please state your relationship to the defendant. Ethan, she's my mother. Wolfe, and did your mother ask you to install surveillance software on William Harrington's phone? Ethan, yes. Wolfe, when Ethan, 2024, October. She told me it was for his protection, that he was getting confused, making bad business decisions. Wolfe, did you believe her, Ethan? I wanted to believe her. His voice cracks. He looks at Victoria. She won't meet his eyes. Ethan counted. I was 22. She was my mother, and I'd spent my whole life trying to make her proud. Wolfe, what did the software record, Ethan? Everything? Calls, texts, emails, conversations. 18 months of surveillance. Wolfe, and what did you do with that information, Ethan? I gave it to my mother. She used it to track William's activities, his asset transfers, his plans for Ironwood. Wolfe pulls up an exhibit, the recording from June 2012. Victoria's voice discussing brake lines and mechanics and making things look natural. Wolfe, do you recognize this recording, Ethan? Yes. Wolfe, where did you find it, Ethan? In my mother's encrypted files, labeled insurance. I found it 3 years ago. Wolfe, did you ask her about it, Ethan? Yes. Wolfe, what did she say, Ethan, that it was research? For a character she was developing. That it meant nothing. Wolfe, did you believe her, Ethan? No. The word hangs in the courtroom. Son condemning mother, Family destroying itself on the altar of truth, Wolf. Why not Ethan? Because I'd heard her talk about Catherine Harrington. Always with satisfaction, like she'd won something. Ethan continued. And because 3 days before that recording, I was with my mother in Portland. She met a man at an auto shop, Leo Castellano. I heard them discussing brake lines, saw her hand him an envelope of cash. Ethan continued. I was 12. I didn't understand. But years later, when I connected the timeline, when Catherine died 3 days after that meeting, he wipes his eyes. Ethan continued. I understood exactly what I'd witnessed. Victoria's lawyer objects. Hearsay, speculation, judge overrules. The testimony stands. Wolf, Mr. Thorne, did your mother ever express remorse for Catherine Harrington's death? Ethan, number. Wolf, did she ever indicate she would harm Maya Harrington? Ethan, yes. In a conversation with Marcus Kincaid, December 2024. She said if Maya became a problem, they'd make her disappear, like her mother. The gallery murmurs. The judge's gavel comes down. Wolf, thank you, Mr. Thorne. No further questions. Victoria's lawyer stands for cross-examination, tries to discredit Ethan, points out his gambling addiction, his illegal surveillance, his deals with prosecutors. But the recordings don't lie. And a son's testimony against his mother carries weight that transcends credibility attacks. Interior, federal courthouse later. Maya takes the stand in the afternoon, after Ethan, after 3 expert witnesses, after hours of testimony about brake lines and mechanics and the physics of automotive murder. She swears to tell the truth, sits. Wolf approaches with something like gentleness. Wolf, Ms. Harrington, tell us about your mother. Maya Catherine Harrington. She was kind, creative. She taught me that buildings could be more than structures. They could be homes, Wolf. When did she die, Maya? June 24th, 2012. Car accident. Brake failure on Route 22, Wolf. You were how old, Maya? 14, Wolf. Did you suspect it was anything other than an accident, Maya? Not then, my father did. He investigated quietly for years. But without proof, what could he do, Wolf? When did you learn the truth, Maya? October 2026, after my father died. I found his vault, his evidence. The recordings Victoria made thinking they'd never surface. She looks at Victoria now, meets her eyes across the courtroom. Maya continued. She killed my mother because she was in the way, because my mother discovered Victoria's affair with Marcus Kincaid, because greed mattered more than human life. Wolf, how did that make you feel, Maya? Like I'd been living in a house with my mother's murderer for 5 years, eating dinner across from her, pretending she was family. Maya continued. Like everything I thought I knew was a lie. Wolf, what do you want from this trial, Maya? Justice, accountability, and for everyone to know what she took from us. Wolf, thank you. No further questions. Victoria's lawyer tries to shake her testimony, points out she never witnessed the murder, never saw Victoria pay Leo Castellano. Everything she knows comes from her father's investigation. Maya doesn't waver. Maya, my father documented everything. Traffic cameras, mechanic records, wire transfers, and Victoria confessed, on tape, in her own words. Maya continued, the evidence speaks for itself. Interior, federal courthouse, verdict day 2 weeks later. The jury deliberates for 6 hours, returns at 4 p.m. on a Thursday. The courtroom holds its breath. Judge Elizabeth Monroe is 64, sharp, fair, known for her no-nonsense approach to justice. She sits now as the jury foreman stands. Foreman. In the matter of the United States versus Victoria Thorne, on the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, we find the defendant guilty. Victoria closes her eyes. Foreman continued. On the charge of first-degree murder in the death of Catherine Harrington, we find the defendant guilty. Foreman continued. On the charges of fraud, bigamy, and conspiracy, we find the defendant guilty on all counts. The gavel comes down. Maya feels Garrett's hand on her shoulder. Margaret squeezes her arm. The world goes distant and muffled, like she's underwater watching justice happen somewhere above her. Monroe's sentencing is scheduled for 30 days from today. The defendant will remain in custody. Victoria is led away. She doesn't look back, doesn't cry, just walks like a woman who knew this was coming and has nothing left to lose. Outside, the media waits. Maya doesn't stop this time, just walks to Garrett's truck and climbs in. Let them write what they want. The verdict speaks loud enough. Exterior, Ironwood Estate, day sentencing day. Maya doesn't attend Victoria's sentencing. Lets Margaret represent the family. Deliver the victim impact statement Maya spent 3 nights writing. Instead, she stands at Ironwood, watching workers put final touches on the restoration. The house is beautiful now. Victorian elegance restored. Paint fresh, windows gleaming, the porch solid and level. Her phone rings. Margaret. Prescott over phone, life without parole. Consecutive sentences. She'll die in prison. Maya sits on the porch steps, newly rebuilt, smelling of fresh wood and possibility. Maya and Marcus Prescott over phone. 40 years federal, attempted murder, conspiracy, racketeering. He'll be 92 before he's eligible for parole. Maya. Good. Prescott over phone. It's over, Maya. You can move forward now. Maya. Thank you for everything. She hangs up, sits in silence, feeling the weight of the last years settle into her bones. Her father's death, the vault, the trial, Victoria's conviction. Justice served, but nothing returned. Her mother is still dead. Her father is still gone. And Maya is still the woman left standing in the wreckage trying to build something from the remains. Garrett finds her there an hour later. Garrett heard from Maggie. Maya. Life without parole. Garrett. Good. He sits beside her. They watch the sun track across the sky, painting Ironwood in gold and amber. Garrett continued. The center's almost ready. Contractors finished the classrooms yesterday. Computer lab goes in next week. Maya. How many applications? Garrett 63. For 20 spots. Kids from all over. Some who can't afford traditional architecture programs. Some who just want to learn how to build things that matter. Maya. My mother would love that. Garrett. She'd love what you're building here. Legacy that helps instead of hurts. Maya. My father hurt a lot of people. Garrett. He did, but he also gave you the resources to make it right. That counts for something. Maya thinks about the archive, the 37 prosecutions it triggered, corrupt judges removed, fraudulent CEOs imprisoned, a system forced to confront its own rot. Maya. The archive's almost empty. Federal prosecutors took the last files yesterday. Garrett, how do you feel about that Maya lighter? Like I've been carrying a weapon I never wanted and finally got permission to put it down. Garrett. What will you do with the space, Maya? Turn it into a library. Resources for students. Architecture books. Design software. A place to study underground where my father once planned revenge. She smiles despite everything. Maya continued transformation. He'd hate it. Garrett, your mother would love it. They sit as the sun sets, as ironwood glows in the fading light, as the house that held so much pain begins its conversion into something that might hold hope instead. Interior Ironwood Estate, Catherine's studio, day 3 months later. Maya stands in her mother's old studio, now her office. The desk where Catherine sketched garden designs now holds blueprints for affordable housing projects, community centers, schools, and neighborhoods that need them. The Catherine Harrington Center for Ethical Architecture opened last month. 20 students, 5 faculty, a mission statement that reads like Catherine's journal entries about building with heart instead of just steel. Maya opens the desk drawer, finds a letter she's read 100 times, written by her father, never sent, dated 1 week before he died. She reads it again. My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, you've won the game I couldn't finish in life. I taught you strategy, negotiation, ruthlessness, all tools I use to build an empire. But your mother taught you something I forgot. Compassion without weakness. You'll succeed where I failed because you know when to fight and when to forgive. Victoria destroyed herself trying to destroy us. That's the nature of vengeance. Justice, on the other hand, builds. It creates, it heals. You chose justice. That's how I know you're stronger than I ever was. The center you're building. Make it a place where future Williams learn integrity before they learn conquest. Where future Victorias learn self-worth before they learn manipulation. That's the legacy worth leaving. Checkmate, little architect. You won. Love always, Dad. P.S. The original ironwood blueprints from 1880 are in the vault's east wall panel. Your mother wanted to restore it someday. Now you can. Maya folds the letter, places it back in the drawer, moves to the east wall panel her father mentioned. Behind it, wrapped in protective cloth, the original blueprints, hand-drawn, 1883. The Underground Railroad tunnel system mapped with precision and care by people who built freedom into the foundation. She spreads them on the desk, studies the network, the hidden rooms, the escape routes, the architecture of liberation. An idea forms, slow at first, then gaining momentum. A museum, dedicated to the Underground Railroad history beneath Ironwood, showing students that architecture has always been political, always been about more than aesthetics, that buildings can save lives or take them, shelter people or imprison them, that design choices have moral weight. She picks up her phone, dials the Maine Historical Society. Maya, this is Maya Harrington. I have something I think you'll want to see. Exterior, Ironwood Estate, grand opening, day 1 year later. The Catherine Harrington Center for Ethical Architecture opens to sunshine and crowds. 300 people on the lawn. Students, faculty, donors, press, community members who remember Catherine and want to honor her memory. A banner stretches across the porch, building forward with honor. Maya stands at a podium, looks out at the faces, some familiar, most not. All here because they believe in what this place represents. Ethan sits in the front row, sober 18 months now, working full-time at the treatment center, using his trust fund to sponsor other addicts through recovery. He catches Maya's eye, nods. She nods back. Margaret sits beside him, retired now, but serving on the center's board of directors, making sure Maya's vision stays true. Garrett stands at the back, as always, watching, protecting. The man who helped her father build this trap and helped Maya spring it. Maya clears her throat, The crowd quiets. Maya, my father taught me that buildings are investments. My mother taught me they're homes. This center honors both lessons and adds a third. She gestures to ironwood behind her. Restored and beautiful and full of purpose. Maya continued, buildings are legacy, not legacy measured in dollars. Legacy measured in values passed forward. Maya continued, my father spent 40 years building an empire through ruthlessness. He spent his final year teaching me to build one through honor. That transformation, from conquest to integrity, is the real inheritance. She looks at the students, young faces, hopeful, ready to learn. Maya continued, we'll train architects who design with conscience, who remember that behind every blueprint is a family, a community, a future. Maya continued, my mother believed architecture could heal. My father proved business could atone. This center is that proof made permanent. Maya continued, welcome to Ironwood. Welcome home. Applause, long and sustained. Maya steps down, lets the students take over, leading tours, showing off classrooms, the library that used to be a vault, the museum documenting the Underground Railroad history beneath their feet. She finds Garrett by the old oak tree, the one her mother planted 30 years ago. Garrett, good speech. Maya, my father would have hated it, too sentimental. Garrett, your mother would have loved it. That's what matters. They stand in comfortable silence, watching the center come to life. Students and teachers, learning and building. The future taking shape in real time. Maya, thank you for everything, for helping my father, for helping me. Garrett, I didn't do it for thanks. Maya, why did you do it, Garrett? Because your father asked, and because some things are worth finishing even when the person who started them can't see it through. Maya thinks about that, about the vault her father built, the trap he set, the resources he left, all of it pointing toward this moment, this place, this possibility. Maya, he saw it in his way. He knew what I'd build here, Garrett, did he, Maya? He left me the blueprints, the money, the evidence, everything I needed to transform his revenge into something constructive. She looks at Ironwood, at the students streaming through doors that used to be boarded shut. Maya continued, he couldn't do it himself. Too much anger, too much history, but he could give me the tools to do it for him. Garrett redemption by proxy. Maya legacy, the only kind that matters. Interior Ironwood Estate, Catherine's studio. Night. The party winds down. Guests depart. Students return to dorms Garrett's crew built in what used to be the carriage house. The center settles into the quiet rhythm of night. Maya sits at her mother's desk, now hers, surrounded by blueprints and plans and letters from students who want to learn how to build with integrity. She opens her laptop, checks email, finds one from the federal prosecutor. Subject final archive update. She reads, the last of the prosecutions concluded yesterday. 37 convictions total, 4 judges removed, 8 CEOs imprisoned, 12 politicians facing charges, 13 others awaiting trial. Her father's archive dismantled a network of corruption that had operated for decades, not because he was a hero, but because he was paranoid and meticulous and kept records of everyone who crossed him. Sometimes the right thing happens for the wrong reasons. Maya closes the laptop, opens the drawer, pulls out one more letter. This one from her mother, found in the hope chest in the vault, written 2 weeks before Catherine died. My darling Maya, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're old enough to understand what I couldn't tell you when you were small. Your father is a difficult man, brilliant, driven, capable of building anything he sets his mind to, but also capable of great cruelty in pursuit of success. I've loved him despite these flaws, or perhaps because of them. He's never pretended to be something he's not. But I worry what he'll become without me there to remind him that money isn't everything, that some victories cost more than they're worth. So I'm writing this for you, to tell you that if he ever goes too far, if he ever builds something that helps him but hurts others, you have my permission to tear it down and build something better. You have his strategic mind and my compassionate heart. That combination is powerful. Use it wisely. Ironwood is yours, not just the structure, but the spirit of what we built here. A place where family gathered, where love mattered more than empire. Whatever your father leaves, you remember this. The best inheritance isn't money or property. It's the wisdom to know what to keep and what to transform. Build forward, my love. Build something beautiful. All my heart, Mom. Maya folds a letter carefully, places it beside her father's. Two parents, two philosophies, two legacies woven together into something neither could have built alone. She stands, walks to the window, looks out at Ironwood glowing in moonlight, at the students' windows still lit, young architects studying, learning, preparing to build the future. Her phone buzzes, text from Ethan. First month sober anniversary tomorrow. Couldn't have done it without you. Thank you for the second chance. She texts back, my father believed you deserved one. Turns out he was right. Proud of you. Another text, this one from a former student, now working for a nonprofit designing homeless shelters in Seattle. Used your teachings today. Client wanted cheap and fast. I convinced them to invest in quality and dignity. Breaking ground next month. Thank you for showing us there's another way. Maya smiles, texts back congratulations. This is the legacy Catherine wanted. William enabled. Maya built. Not empire, not revenge, not wealth for its own sake, but transformation. Justice, the patient work of taking what's broken and making it whole again. Exterior, Riverside Cemetery. Day anniversary of William's death. Maya visits her parents' graves on the anniversary, both stones side by side now. William's no longer alone. She brings roses from the garden, the ones she planted using her mother's hybrid techniques. Colors Catherine dreamed of but never lived to create. Maya. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. She arranges the flowers, sits on the grass between them. Maya continued. The center's doing well. 20 students graduated last month. All of them placed in firms or nonprofits, building things that matter. Maya continued. Ethan's still sober, working with addicts, paying it forward. You were right about him, Dad. He just needed someone to believe he could be better. Maya continued. Victoria died in prison last month. Heart attack. I didn't go to the funeral, didn't send flowers, just let her go. Sometimes justice is enough. She pulls grass between her fingers, lets the wind carry it away. Maya continued. I think about what you both taught me. Dad's strategy, Mom's compassion, how to build an empire, how to build a home. Maya continued. You were so different, but somehow you fit together, created something neither of you could have made alone. Maya continued. I'm trying to do the same. Take what you left me, the good and the bad, the resources and the scars, and build something that honors you both. She stands, touches both headstones. Maya continued, thank you for Ironwood, for the center, for teaching me that legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you build forward. She walks back to her car, doesn't look back, moving toward the future they made possible. Interior Ironwood Estate, Main Hall. Day 2 years after opening. The center buzzes with activity. 60 students now, 10 faculty members, a waiting list 3 years long. Partnerships with firms across the country who want graduates trained in ethical design. Maya teaches a class on sustainable urban planning, shows students how to design affordable housing that doesn't sacrifice dignity for cost, how to create community spaces that serve residents instead of developers. After class, she returns to her office, finds a package waiting, no return address, just her name in handwriting she doesn't recognize. She opens it carefully. Inside, a letter and a photograph. The photo shows a young man, maybe 25, standing in front of a completed building. Community center. Beautiful. Functional. Exactly the kind of thing the Catherine Harrington Center teaches students to create. The letter reads, "Ms. Harrington, you don't know me, but your father knew my father. Destroyed his business in 2011, Brennan and Associates. My dad never recovered, died angry and broke. I spent 10 years hating the Harrington name, blaming your family for everything wrong in my life. Then I read about what you did with the archive, how you exposed corruption instead of profiting from it, how you built a school instead of an empire. I applied to your center, got rejected, not qualified, but you personally called me, offered a scholarship to a partner program, said everyone deserves a chance to build instead of destroy. This photo is my first completed project. Community center in the neighborhood where I grew up, where my father's firm used to be. I built it using principles your mother would have loved and your father would have respected. Thank you for showing me there's another way, for breaking the cycle. Sincerely, Daniel Brennan." Maya reads the letter 3 times, then pins the photo to her wall, beside photos from other students, other projects, other lives changed by choosing to build instead of destroy. This is what her father's archive bought. Not just prosecutions, but possibility. The chance for children of the people William hurt to create instead of continuing the cycle of revenge. Her phone rings. Garrett over phone. Got a call from the governor's office. They want to present the center with a state award for community impact. Maya, when Garrett over phone next month. Ceremony at the State House. Press coverage. The works. Maya, my father would have loved that. The recognition, the validation. Garrett over phone. What about you, Maya? I love that it means we're doing something right, that the work matters. Garrett over phone. That's the difference between you and him. He needed the world to know. You just need the work to help, Maya. I learned from the best, both of them. She hangs up, looks around her office at the blueprints, the photos, the letters from students whose lives changed because 2 complicated people loved each other enough to build something beautiful before tragedy tore them apart. And because their daughter learned to take what they left behind and transform it into something neither vengeance nor empire could have created. Legacy, not what you leave behind, but what you build forward. Fade out, post-credits, text. The Harrington Archive led to 37 convictions for corruption across New England. The Catherine Harrington Center for Ethical Architecture has trained over 200 architects in sustainable, community-focused design. Maya Harrington continues her parents' legacy, building a more just future one project at a time. Victoria Thorne died in federal prison in 2028. Marcus Kincaid is serving 40 years. Earliest parole eligibility, 2066. Ethan Thorne celebrated 5 years of sobriety and runs a nonprofit helping children of incarcerated parents. Ironwood Estate was designated a National Historic Landmark in 2029. End.